Okay, I'm about to say something. Some people might agree, some people might disagree, but this is what I say. Just stick around and let me explain why I'm saying what I'm about to say. In my opinion, I feel like people should only date for marriage. Yes, I think if you're dating, you should be dating with intentions to marry, right? Now, I know on the surface, some people probably be like, ah, man, no, sometimes people ain't trying to settle down. People might, just be trying to, kick it, just have a little friend or whatever, right? Right? The very reason that a complete stranger can come up to you and you engage in the conversation with them, and then later on end up having a conversation with them on the phone or whatever, lets you know right there, because people keep saying y'all can just be friends, but this is built on you being a man, that person being a woman, we naturally having that desire for companionship in a romantic way towards each other. That's what this is really built upon. Maybe you're familiar with my videos, maybe you're not. But one thing that you hear me probably talk about, if you are familiar with some of my videos when it comes to relationship and dating, is being intentional, right? Doing it with purpose. Where there's romance, where there's sex. And some people might say, just because you're dating somebody, don't mean you automatically sleeping around with them. You cannot be having sex with nobody and you dating people. That's true. You can date people without having sex with them, right? But this is what I'm saying. Just that dating lane alone, that would be like the romance side of what I think sex and romance are kind of joined at the hip. They are separate. They're their own lane, but I feel like they are joined at the hip, right? But even if you just operating in that romance lane, right? You still, the reason why I say you shouldn't be dating unless you're dating for marriage is because with your romance, with your emotions, you are still being intentional, right? You're still doing it with purpose. Because look, this is still like people, I think people already understand how powerful sex is, right? But I think people do know how powerful deep and how deep romantic feelings is too. How that can be life-changing for the good or for the worse, depending on how you're using them, and depending on what type of situation that you've been in. I think that people kind of just get it, they just kind of overlook. And I think because it's just so normal to just, go deal with somebody. Just have a little girlfriend when you're 15, have a little boyfriend when you're 15. But when you get down to it, that powerful emotion of having feelings for somebody in romance is still being operated in. So do you want to kind of dilly-dab when doing that? Shouldn't you be intentional and specific and purposeful when doing this, right? Because look, in my opinion, and I think a lot of y'all probably would agree, one of the most important decisions somebody gonna make in their life is who they're gonna end up with, who they want to be with, who they're gonna be life partners with. Yeah, life partners. That's whoever you wanna be with, be a life partner with, them same emotions that somebody might just say, oh, you can just kick it with somebody, but you can just dilly dab, or you get your little boyfriend at 15 or 16, it start with that emotion, right? So whenever you decide to deal with somebody in that lane, that emotion is involved, right? That powerful, strong, potential life-changing emotion, like I say, for the good or for the worse, right? If you're not being purposeful, if you kind of just kick, you really don't have no plan, you really don't have no true understanding of what we're doing here, right? Because, you might just be kicking it, that might just be my little friend. And even if two people agree to just kick it, to just be friends, right? The question is, what does that mean? That's very left open to interpretation, right? But them same powerful feelings and emotions is involved in this thing that really is just left open to interpretation, and they really got no definition of what we really doing, and it can be impacted. I mean, let's be real. Just because somebody make a decision, even if the two parties neutrally agree to just kick it or just be friends, it don't stop the emotions from being impacted one way or another. Even if you build it, people might say, well, you know, hey, I ain't ever fallen in love with nobody doing that. My heart ain't ever get broke doing that. And some people may have that story that did happen. Or they might have had, after being around that person or dealing with them for a period of time, feelings start growing that they didn't, you know, they didn't necessarily plan. You know, I talk about that in the video called "Is Being in Love a Choice?" That's how that can happen. But even if you didn't fall in love with somebody, right? What you could start doing is build a habit around spreading yourself around emotionally. See, people only think about it in a sexual sense and can see, you know, how that's not a good thing. But emotionally, that's not a good thing, because you can still build attachments to different people emotionally. And what you can do, and what you're probably doing, if you didn't fall for somebody, you're probably using that as a void filler. Just like people do with sex. They'll use sex to fill a void. People do that emotionally as well, and they'll just do it with different people, you know, and now you're spinning yourself around emotionally, and somebody can be invested in you and you're not as invested in them, or vice versa, right? So you need to be intentional about it, not just for your sake, for the sake of other people. And even if y'all have that mutual agreement to be friends, don't you have situations where one of the parties end up, you know, start acting a certain way? Right? Be supposed to be friends, right? But another party might start acting a certain way. You might start developing feelings. That person might start developing feelings, right? And all the attachments to that emotion, potential heartbreak to potential disappointment, it can still affect your view if you've been dealing in one of them unpurposeful emotional situations, and you can carry that into the next situation. The person you was dealing with can carry that into the next. It's just spreading like wildfire. And I think that's really actually what's been happening in you know, in the society that we live in. I think that's what's been going on, right? You kind of taught to have a little boo, boyfriend or girlfriend, when you in high school. But look, as powerful as that emotion is, right? Romance, we know how powerful that is, right? Why should a teenager be dealing and dabbling? Like all right, we put restrictions on teenagers because we say, they're not ready for that. They're not mature that for that. You can't drive until this age. You can't go into a casino until, you can't buy liquor, right? So it seems like as a society, we do believe that teenagers, you know, they're not ready for certain stuff. But something as powerful and life-changing as this, a teen, they ain't got no plans to do nothing. They ain't, you know, they ain't looking for marriage. They ain't, you know, okay, look, I got this gig. This is what I do. It's like, why should, you know, a teenager be entrusted with that powerful emotion to just dip and dab in willy-nilly? Clearly ain't really got no real future for the most part. You know, ain't got no real future plans and not gonna be intentional and purposeful about it. But dealing with this powerful emotion that can still start impacting them immediately when operating in it. I do want to say, I know that there are some people, and I know people who have started dating in high school and they, you know, end up getting married to each other, right? But I think that we can agree that that's for the most part the exception to the rule. The first person you have sex with, the first person you kissed or dated, I mean, you know, and y'all leave it in the comments and let me know. Typically, that's probably not the person you're gonna end up marrying, right? So you know, I wouldn't want to say, well, let's just apply the exceptions to the rule. I think for the most part, people go what usually takes place, and they go based off that. Now, something else I would say is that a teenager, I say whenever you date, be dating for marriage. Some people may be 18, fresh out the gate, that's what they want to do. You know, this and that, that's and so. Some people might say, you still young, you just got out of high school, you don't know. Hey, and you could be right. The reasons why people do that with teenagers is because they still young, they don't have a lot of life experience. You be like, hold up, just slow down, right? But whenever you're gonna date, I just say, in my opinion, you should be dating with marriage because you have some real purpose. And what should be the ultimate goal of a romantic relationship anyway, marriage. Now look, I do feel like you may have some exceptions to the rule, right? Where a man and a woman possibly can be friends, so to speak. But for the most part, I don't think it's true. Somebody might say, but you might have a work relationship with somebody, right? You know, y'all might just know each other from work. That could be possible, but look, that can still take place even if, you know, you initially start knowing somebody at work, right? Now, I feel like you might have a better chance of actually just being friends with each other, possibly, if y'all work together, because it started on a work foundation, right? But you're still dealing with man and woman.
Excuse me, what type of
if we're gonna be real, and you know, you still need to be careful about that, because even
work, do y'all talk on the phone? Are y'all spending like just, you know, leisure time together? What kind of conversations are y'all having on a consistent basis over a period of time when y'all talking? You know, y'all go by each other's house, stuff like that. Because look, before you know it, you can mess around and be fulfilling that romantic emotional void unintentionally, or you may be doing it intentionally, or one person may be doing it and the other person not. Then the other person develop it, bang, like that. So yeah, it's still something to be cautious about, because at the end of the day, you are still man, you are still woman, and you know, just, you know, something to think about.
And you know, you still need to be careful about that, because even if you're not the person who developed feelings, the other person might develop feelings. I feel like over a period of time, if they communicate on a consistent basis, somebody, for the most part, I think you have exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, somebody gonna end up developing feelings for each other, especially if y'all didn't even know each other at all. I think it's already built on the man-woman attraction emotionally anyway. Like that's the whole reason why you even talk to this complete stranger, right? I mean, at least in my opinion.